All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, I'll make a motion. The Board of Commissioners approves the June 24th, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
I'll make a motion. The Board of Commissioners approves the June 26th, 2025 special meeting minutes.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. We're going to recess into a public hearing. Purpose of today's hearing is to hear public comment regarding the Portage County District Library's proposed fiscal year 2026 tax budget. The tax budget has been on display in the Portage County Commissioner's Office, the Portage County Auditor's Office, and the Portage County District Library's Administrative Office for public viewing since June 17, 2025. Notice of this public hearing was published on June 11, 2025 in the Record Courier newspaper. Those that are speaking today, if you'd raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly affirm under the penalties of law of perjury of the state of Ohio that the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please respond with I do.
I do.
All right, if you folks would step up, have a seat.
You want to state your name for the record?
Sure. After you.
Kristen Fabian, Fiscal Officer.
Jonathan Harris, Director.
You're both being sworn in, you're on.
Okay, I'll let you kick it off with.
Our focus this fiscal year is to expand personnel and to look more toward development, building improvement. So at this stage, those are kind of the big areas that we're going to be allocating funds to. Everything else is pretty typical, standard operating. We don't have any other expectations in terms of unexpected costs. We do have contract negotiations coming up within this month. So, of course, we can deviate from our forecasted personnel budget, but we don't expect it to be too much or too unexpected. But apart from that, our funding structure remains the same. We now rely heavily on our operating levy, and we were not so long ago solely reliant on the public library fund. And now with the changes in that structure, we stand to lose approximately $130,000 over the course of the next budget cycle.
2 years.
Yeah, so, which, in the grand scheme, doesn't seem like much, but when we were completely reliant on the PLF, that would have taken a third of our operating budget. So we feel like we've been fiscally responsible, that we've really done everything that we said we were going to do, restored hours, restored personnel when this levy was passed. So we're really excited. We have a new bookmobile, we have expanded services, we're getting out there and we're using the funds for what they were meant to be used for.
So Kristen, what are you supplementing the reliance on the state funding with, or what happened?
We don't have a fallback there, but our carryover every year is about 6 months worth of operating expenses. So we do have a cushion, and we have quite a bit that we've put in Star Ohio in terms of investment. So if something catastrophic were to happen, we do have resources, but as far as like real time, and the other sources that we look at are contributions, which are hard to forecast because we don't get things that are consistent over the years. Fines and fees, which again, those aren't, it's really unpredictable. And then there are just some odds and ends, like entities that provide us reimbursement for library services or other services. And interest. We've seen
Yeah,
huge gains
interest,
in
yeah.
interest, but I kind of hesitate to put a lot of stock into that because it's so it's unpredictable as well, and those things can really change and fluctuate. And we're at the mercy, so we don't really.
So it sounds like just good fiscal, watch on the budget and, being able to sustain a 6-month carryover and stuff is what's supplementing or replacing your
Yes.
reliance on the state.
Yes.
Okay.
The amount of your carryover, is that a norm? Has that been,
Since the operating levy passed, yes. Prior to that, it was.
Minimal.
It was
Yeah,
minimal.
Very minimal.
It was,
remember?
yeah, it was maybe a quarter of what we could have sustained for like a quarter of a year's worth of operating expenses.
He has
And-
been very successful in passing those.
Oh,
And part of it with the carryover is that, it's a 10-year levy, and we're about 5 years in at this point. And,
Yes.
it's not going to generate more than it generated in year one. So, part of that is accounting for, prices are gonna increase, that levy's gonna bring in the same amount of money. So we're looking at this point, when you were talking about supplementing state funding, because of that levy, we were able to be in a position where we could expand hours, expand services, that sort of thing. We're looking at the state money dropping, and it's in a position where it's got the possibility to slow down some of that expansion and some of our plans over the 10-year levy cycle. But it's not immediate cut the way that it would have been 6 years ago.
Yeah. So just like everything's so fluid anymore, you just have to sort of
And
watch and.
yeah, and the other thing is that, a portion of that has gone to branch improvement funds, building improvement funds. These are buildings that mostly are provided by the community, but the interior still needs upkeep. The things that we pay for still need upkeep. And since we were running on a pretty bare bones budget for that amount of time, there's been a lot of deferred, upkeep on those buildings. So,
And Kristen, you did say that the 130,000, is that lost over the 2 years? Is what-
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
about 65 a year?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
mhm.
well, I have nothing else.
I would as well.
No public comment.
Yeah, okay, did you stand up and ask your question? Oh, you don't see them back there?
My glasses must not be working. I'll make a motion to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene as the Board of Commissioners.
Second?
Roll call,
Sabrina,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Mike.
yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion the Board of Commissioners approves the adoption of the Portage County District Library's tax budget for 2026.
Second?
Roll call,
Sabrina,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Mike.
yes. All right, now, we're going to, head out of the, Commissioners' meeting and go back into recess to a public hearing. The purpose of today's public hearing is to hear the public comment regarding the Portage County Library Consortium proposed fiscal year 2026 tax budget. The tax budget has been on display in the Portage County Commissioner's Office, Portage County Auditor's Office, and the Portage County District Library Administrative Office for public viewing since June 17, 2025. Notice of this public hearing was published on June 11, 2025 in the Record Courier newspaper. You guys have been sworn in, so you're on.
So, pretty much the consortium budget is, it exists to sustain a collaboration between PCDL, Kent, and Reed. That really just means we share the same ILS system. We share equipment, we share resources that so that it enables us to work together to bring all of, yes?
Hold on,
Yeah.
I gotta swear you in again.
Oh,
it is?
oh, that's okay. Sure.
If you're gonna testify, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm, under the penalties of law and perjury of the state of Ohio, that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please respond with "I do."
I do.
Thank you. Good.
Okay. So,
You could have been fibbing the entire
I
first
could.
part, and we just missed it.
but it just doesn't count.
I know.
Well, and Kristen, I appreciate that, to explain what the consortium does. I think that's important, so yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of people still don't know the differences between our three systems and that we do collaborate. At this point, nothing is really, we kind of just exist, that consortium exists just it enables the three systems to share resources and
Yeah.
provide more to the patrons of Portage County. And there really isn't much that changes in terms of that budget. The funding structure is solely reliant on the PLF. We get about 3.9% per year. And everything else is, I mean, the interest that coincides with that budget is very minimal. But our expenses never exceed our budget. We don't come close. We still have a small carryover every year. There was talk of us maybe expanding personnel in that area, but still, just still kind of under review. It was just something being kicked around. So we do have one employee. They do work out of the PCDL administrative offices, and they go through all of the items that are requested through Search Ohio. They go through everything, and then they kind of package them up and send them to the different library system branches to be distributed to the patrons. That's the most active part of the organization, that piece of it. And so everything else, like I said, just exists to kind of keep the system functioning.
Yeah.
And this just receives funding from the state, and
Yeah.
it's not part of the levy, right?
Correct.
So,
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna note. I noticed where it says government grants and aid, XXXX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
state income taxes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, there isn't much in the way of overhead, like Kristen mentioned. It's one
Yeah,
part-time
just one
employee.
person.
Right.
They handle our Search Ohio and Ohio Link, which unfortunately is gonna have a little bit of downtime this summer while they upgrade systems. That is something that, you know, we've had regular talks with vendors and making sure that they're taking care of us on that sort of thing. But yeah, mostly the expenses out of that are for the technology that runs the catalog, patron database, all of
Yeah.
that.
mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else?
I do not have any other questions. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Since we have viewers, is there anything new and exciting being offered in services from the library's perspective? I know we went to ebooks and stuff like that, but is there any new technology or anything coming up or being offered since
So-
last year?
So we're still, you know, doing a heavy amount of work on the ebooks. We have one of the formats that we've actually had growing recently, particularly through Bookmobile service, is a Wonder Book collection. Those are generally children's titles that also have recorded media on it to go along with. So, you know, book on tape along with the book, you know, read along sort of thing. Those have been popular, particularly on the Bookmobile. One spot where I've seen them getting a fair amount of use actually is the Amish and Mennonite population in the northeast part of the county.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I know Kent and Reed have been offering them. We're going to start checking out passes for local museums. We're also looking at exploring, checking out Roku sticks and things like that for streaming media.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, one of the things that we're running into as libraries nationwide right now is that so many streaming services put stuff out on their own service and don't provide don't make DVDs or Blu-rays available anymore. And since libraries kind of rely on the right of first sale to be able to circulate things, anything that's on a subscription model, we have to be a little bit creative on.
Wow.
So,
Thank you. I don't have anything else.
Alright.
I'll make any public comment? No public. I'll make a motion to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene as the Board of Commissioners.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners approves the adoption of the Portage Library Consortium's tax budget for 2026.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank all of
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
We
for coming
always-
in.
It's always a
we
good
should do
time.
this again at least once a year.
Yeah, that's right.
Once a year.
Yeah, we look forward to it.
Well, have a good day.
You guys
Take care,
too.
y'all.
Have a wonderful holiday.
Oh, yes, you too.
Thank you.
Try to stay cool, it's gonna be another one.
Oh, my goodness.
Mm.
Impossible, this heat, but I'll take it first.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I scheduled all the public hearings 15 minutes apart, so
Oh,
I
okay,
don't
so
know if
we're-
we would
That's fine.
like to do miscellaneous, or if we kind of have some time to fill.
Oh, okay. Alright, I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners acknowledges receipt of the June 24th, 2025 amended certificate of estimated resources for the year beginning January 1st, 2025, as submitted by the Portage County Budget Commission.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
In accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 325.07, the Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the Portage County Sheriff's Transporting Report for May 2025 as presented by the Portage County Sheriff.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the June 27th, 2025 certificate of the County Auditor that the total appropriations from each fund does not exceed the official estimate of resources as presented by the Portage County Auditor's Office.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yep.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the kennel disposition report and intake report for June 16th, 2025 through June 22nd, 2025 as presented by the Chief Dog Warden David McIntyre.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I make a motion in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 325.07, the Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the monthly record of proceedings and transactions for May 2025 as presented by the Portage County Sheriff's Office.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners approves the reappointment of Jennifer Shrum for the Portage County Mental Health and Recovery Board.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Portage County Commissioners agree to amend Resolution Number 24-0603, authorizing the issuance of a county procurement card to be held in the name of the Portage County Building Department and Floodplain Administration to change the name of the card is held in from Joseph L. Bodnar to Linda Markajon.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners accepts the Ohio Department of Development, Office of Community Infrastructure, PY 2024, Target of Opportunity Program, State of Ohio Community Development Block Grant, Program Grant Agreement.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners agrees to sign the settlement and full and final release of all claim in accordance with Section 3745.12 with NEO Helicopter Academy LLC on behalf of the Portage County Emergency Management Agency.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Jackie's here.
Hello, Miss Jackie.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, my goodness. Just absolutely phenomenal. You ready?
Yep.
Yep.
Board of Commissioners will recess into a public hearing. Purpose of today's public hearing is to hear public comment regarding Portage County's proposed fiscal year 2026 tax budget The tax budget has been on display in the Portage County Commissioner's Office, the Portage County Auditor's Office for public viewing since June 17, 2025. Since this public hearing was published on June 12, 2025 in the Record Courier newspaper. Jackie, would you be so kind as to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the penalties of, under the penalties of law of perjury for the state of Ohio, that your testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please respond with "I do."
I do.
Well, thank you. All right, you're up.
All right, so I have a brief presentation just about the revenues for the general fund. So you see what we're
I
certifying.
don't know how you're keeping up with it.
I'm trying. It's a lot of change.
Thank you.
Okay.
Morning, sir.
So if we want to flip to the first page, this just kind of explains the strategy for estimating the revenues, the projection for this year, and then the revenues for next year. We projected 2025 final revenues and expense numbers based on the first 5 months of 2025 because that's where we were at the time that we started the projection. We added any large one-time expenses that we're projecting to be booked by year end, so that that could be factored into the cash balance. And those kind of apply to our contingency that we were reviewing upcoming larger expenses. We also conservatively estimated the 2026 based on prior year trends in budgets and actuals. And then the county auditor's office provided the property tax estimate. Okay, so if we go to the next slide, these are slides that show the general fund revenue trends. This one is all revenues, and it shows 5 years back, so from 2021 through the 2025 projection, and then the 2026 estimate. As you can see, the revised budget to actual is, usually the revised budget is lower than the actual. In past years, the difference has been somewhat significant, but you can see the trend as we get closer and closer to 25, 26. The estimate is much closer to what we're actually bringing in. So, you know, it's good that we're estimating closer, but also the window of available funds is getting a little bit smaller.
Yes.
So the decrease, I wanted to explain the decrease between the 2025 revised and the 2026 tax budget. You'll see there's a decrease of about $800,000.
A little less than $1 million, yeah.
Yeah, so the difference there, essentially, we're estimating most of the revenues at the same level, like the lion's share of the revenue. But there are a couple things that are going to decrease, and we've seen a trend that they're smaller than we estimate, so we just want to true that up. So casino tax, we've regularly estimated at 2.6 million, but it consistently comes in at 2.3 million. So to get more accurate, we're going to reduce that to 2.3 million to make it closer to the actual. And then this year we projected advances in, but those advances in will come in, so we don't want to count that as revenue again next year. So those are the two pieces that are decreasing. Everything else is pretty much staying the same. And then we can get into more detail in the next slide. This is showing sales tax revenue projections. So we can see it's significantly increased since 2021. 2023 was at 29.9, 2024 was at 30 million. This year we're projecting about 29 million, even though our budget was at 28 million. For 2026 though, conservatively, I would still say we probably leave it at 28 million because we're just not certain yet where 2025 is gonna come in. If 2025 comes in at 29 million, then I think we could comfortably increase it. Once we have about 3 years of a certain level, then I think we could comfortably say it's going up. The trend is increasing. But I think until we're certain of that, we probably want to stay conservative at 28 million for the projection.
Yeah, because it's pretty leveling out. I mean, when I look at the sales tax reports that I get, there's not big increases like we had seen in the past.
Right, so I don't know that it's gonna spike up anytime soon, so we probably just wanna leave it at that level. And if it comes in higher, that's nice,
That's
but
good, right,
if
but
it comes
right.
in less, that's
Yeah.
difficult to deal with, cause then you have to reduce your budget, so.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next slide is showing interest revenues. Interest obviously is much more volatile than other revenue sources. And you can see the significant spike between 2021 and 2024. I think 2024 though was probably the peak. We've been talking a lot in investment meetings and things about decreasing interest rates. So probably in the next 6 months to a year, they'll decrease the rate at least once more. So looking at the trend this year, I believe this year will come in at about 6 million, even though we're budgeted at 4. But again, for 2026, looking that far out, I'm not sure it's gonna stay at that same level for another, year and a half. So we probably wanna conservatively keep it at 4 million, which is still quite a bit higher than where we were, a few years ago, but it's not so high that we're kind of in danger of overestimating what we'll bring in.
We love conservative.
Okay, the next slide is the typical pie that we bring in of property tax revenue. So this is all property tax revenue inside and outside millage that's under the commissioner's purview. So the total here of inside and outside millage is $45,114,299. Now, the lion's share of that is outside millage. So if you look at the pie here, the red piece and the blue piece, that's inside millage. And that's the commissioner's portion, which is just over 12.1 million. That's 26.9% of the pie. The general fund gets the red piece, which is 24%, that's 10.9 million. And then the blue slice is, that's levied toward our debt fund, so that's 3%, that's just over 1.2 million. So that's the total inside millage, the whole rest of the pie is outside millage. The green piece here is the mental health fund, just over 7.9 million, so that's like 18%. DD is the larger pink slice here, and that's 17.2 million, and it's 38% of the pie. And then child welfare is the orange slice there, that's 7.8 million, and that's 17% of the pie. So that's the whole picture under the commissioner's purview.
Jackie, quick question on the debt fund. I mean, we don't really have that much more debt to pay down, do we?
No, we have, I think it'll be done by 2030.
Okay.
And it's all consolidated into one fund. So like all the projects we've done on buildings was consolidated, and we've got 4 or 5 more years to pay down on it, so.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, that's a good segue to the next slide. So this is the detail of the payment for 2026. So, we've leveraged a portion of our property tax toward that. So the property tax portion will cover $1,259,176. The actual payment due is calculated at $1,778,550. So the difference will have to be covered by the general fund via transfer. And so that difference is listed here. It's $519,374. And that's the debt piece. And then the next slide is just some other,
Jack, I have a question on this.
oh, sure.
So the grant for like the Muni court in Kent, that's paid by their fees and stuff, correct?
Right.
So is that included in here?
No, they pass through, they give us a portion, so they pass through the payment, they give it to Fund 3012, and then their portion is paid out of the bill from, they give us a piece of those fees.
So
to
it's
pay.
not showing on our debt? I'm confused, cause I'm gonna say, I can't imagine we only owe 1.7.
That's just the annual, that's just the annual payment for 26.
Okay.
Yeah, we've
got
got
it.
several more years left of
Yeah.
that level of payment, so.
But that payment does include that debt for the courthouse?
Yeah, so their fees go toward that,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Okay, so then just some other items that contributed toward the numbers. the Board of Elections 2025 projection in the general fund includes $1,230,000 for election equipment replacement. And as we've discussed before, the balance up to the 1.5 million that they were discussing, that balance would come out of their equipment fund, which is Fund 1092. So they would contribute 270,000, and then we would contribute the balance out of the general fund. So that's included, and so that has contributed to the expenses in 2025, which is then reducing the cash balance at the beginning of the year. If it isn't paid out in 25, then the cash balance would just be higher, and then it kind of comes out in the wash, then the payment would come out in 2026.
When did those machines get replaced last, you remember?
We paid $1.5 million for them the last time. I know what we paid for them, but I'm trying to think.
They told us, but I don't remember.
Was it like 5 years ago? Was it 2020? That they were
It was
replaced?
before 2020, I
I,
think. I'm not
I
sure.
was just curious.
Yeah, I thought they said it was a 5-year life on them or something, so
Maybe.
I don't know why I was thinking
At that price.
2020.
Yeah. But that's what we paid the last time, was $1.5 million.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, so, next is the juvenile detention center costs. So DBFM estimated their costs just based on a actual cost projection. So we projected $3,280,000 in the general fund. Now, at the time that we set this up, we didn't have accounts set up for their entire department in the general fund, so we put a placeholder amount in their current annual contribution line, just so we have that amount in there. And then once we open up the accounts for them, then we'll move that budget down. But also the court order for 2025 was a bit higher than that, so we'll have to reconcile the difference between the placeholder amount and any, potential additional requests. We'll have to reconcile that at appropriations time.
Because what we traditionally saw was what you estimated, because they always give money back. So I didn't understand the logic, why she court ordered almost another $1 million for that.
Yeah, we might have to have discussions about actuals and projections and,
Yeah, because I'm interested to see what their census is. 'Cause that's, $4 million's a lot, and their census was averaging around 10 to 12 people or kids, and I'm hearing it may be less.
I was out there last Friday and there were 15.
15? Wow.
yeah, so we'll, when
Which I
they,
thought was quite a bit. I mean,
yeah.
Well, that is for
It's
them, yeah.
abnormal for them, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can, around September, when we start looking at appropriations again, we can open up those discussions about their
Yeah.
actuals and what they're actually gonna need. And then the other appropriations requests, as usual, will be examined further in October, November before actually adopting the 2026 appropriations budget. So the next slide just gives the total revenue request here. So for the general fund, the revenue request is $59,727,015. For non-general funds, and this is all other funds that are not general fund, $149,727,027. And so the total tax budget request is $209,454,042. I know that was a lot of information, so are there any other questions?
I looked at mine.
All I can say is wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of numbers.
I think it's important to note, like with the general fund, that's what the Board of Commissioners has, the responsibility for. The non-general funds are,
Outside.
special revenue funds, enterprise funds, agency funds, that we really, that's not under our
purview.
control.
Right, and many of them are grant funds too, that are for a
Mhm.
specific purpose, that, you can't really
Yes.
access.
So Jackie, when you were talking about, our anticipated, funds for this year, it was like we were estimating about $1 million less But then, I thought you said something about, but yet there's about 1,800,000 more that it may be a wash because
So,
other
but
expenses and stuff are.
if we're looking at apples to apples from appropriation season
Yeah.
last year to appropriation season this year, we'll have about 1 million more to work with.
Yeah,
The reason that once you move everything into this year, we had an increase in, property tax estimates and all of that, so that's why when you're comparing those two numbers,
Yeah.
like revised this year versus, going into 26, why it looks like a reduction is because of just other, like we were saying, casino tax and advances that needed to change. So that's why it looks like a reduction,
Yeah.
but if you're looking between the appropriation seasons,
Yeah,
apples to
then
apples, we'll
it's-
have about 1 million more to work with, which is not, quite frankly, it's not a lot,
It's not
for the general fund, so.
yeah, thank you.
It's more, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Um,
Any questions from the audience? Public comment? Come on, Chris, I see it. All right,
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene as the Board of Commissioners.
Second?
roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners approves the adoption of the Portage County tax budget for 2026.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Yes, thanks, Jack.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie.
You're up anyway, so.
I was gonna say, do I stay put?
Yep.
Okay, back to Jackie again. Is there anything on your journal entries?
I don't have any comments, unless the board has
resolutions?
questions.
Does anyone else have any questions before I start?
No, I just wanted to thank Jackie, she told us, about the Maximus, project. So thanks for clarification on that for
You're
the
welcome.
first journal entry.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners authorizes Commissioner Mike Timlin, President of the Board, to sign the certificate of countywide cost allocation plan for fiscal year 2026 for the Portage County, Ohio, as prepared by Maximus, Inc., and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners signs the partial release of the property located at 611 and a half Walton, Ravenna, Ohio, 44266, as part of Portage Housing One project, as requested by Neighborhood Development Services. Documents reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management with no exceptions noted.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners sign the partial release of mortgage for the property at 1690 Athena, Kent, Ohio, as part of Portage Housing One project, as requested by Neighborhood Development Services. Documents reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management with no exceptions noted.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, in accordance with section 305.30K of the Ohio Revised Code and the Board's Resolution 21-0396 and this Board's Resolution 21-0878, the Board of Commissioners acknowledges and approves the County Administrator's approval to. I'll make a motion to direct the Auditor's Office to pay process the June 26, 2025 bills, ACH payments, wires, journal vouchers, and then announce as applicable contingent upon the verification of the reports as presented by the Portage County Auditor and reviewed by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to process the June 26, 2025 budget amendments as reviewed and recommended by the Department of Budget and Financial Management.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, on to resolutions. I'll make a motion the Board of Commissioners approves the transfer from Fund 1413 WIA Fund to Fund 1410 Public Assistance Fund for SFY 25, January through March 2025.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion the Board of Commissioners approves the transfer from Fund 1413 WIA Fund to Fund 1410 Public Assistance Fund for May through June 2025.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion the Board of Commissioners approves the transfer from Fund 0001 General Fund to Fund 1414 Child Support Administration.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners approves the transfer from Fund 001 General Fund to Fund 1410 Public Assistance Fund.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners approves the transfer from Fund 8314 Solid Waste Ohio EPA Community Litter Grant to Fund 830 Solid Waste General Administration Fund.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners approves creating Fund 4272 Hopkins Bridge Replacement for the Portage County Engineers Office.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners authorizes the grant application to the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Violence Against Women Fiscal Year 2025 grant for enhancing investigation and prosecution of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking on behalf of the Portage County Prosecutor's Office.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners authorize the applications and acceptance of a grant from the State of Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction Division for fiscal year 26/27 subsidy grant, Community Corrections Act funding on behalf of the Portage County Adult Probation Department.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners declares the necessity to purchase one vehicle, a 2025 Ford F-150 4x4 regular cab for use by the Portage County Engineers Office.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Portage County Commissioners declares the necessity to purchase one vehicle, a 2025 Ford F-150 4x4 regular cab for use by the Portage County Engineers Office.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes, and I just want to thank the engineer's office for purchasing those in the county.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Now, we're done.
Thank you.
Yes, Jackie.
Morning, Woody.
All right, Michelle. Sure. Woo-hoo.
Here are the project updates. Okay, so in the admin building, they are finishing up painting the stairwells. The entire project is expected to be complete by July 9th. In the annex building, you see they've already started setting the groundwork on the glass enclosure. The glass is to be installed starting the week of 7/7. Prosecutor's office. Parking lot is to be sealed and striped, and that is to be complete over this weekend, weather permitting, of course. Okay, and then we have the riddle block as well. There are 2 parking lots that are going to be sealed and striped. The expectation is that they will be completed over this weekend as well. Again, weather permitting. I think that's about it, although, nope, I'm sorry. Justice Center as well. Parking lot and sealed.
You're gonna be busy.
Yeah, I was gonna
To
say.
begin the week of July weekend, yeah. I think it's easier for them because there's a day off
Sure.
Yeah.
for most of us.
Well, we'll see how the weather goes.
Fingers crossed.
I can appreciate them working on the holiday.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Okay, I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners accepts the fee proposal of Apex Land Surveying to provide professional land surveying services for the Culvert Bridge topographic survey sites located on Stroop, Waterloo, and Seasons Road in Portage County.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners agrees to accept the contract change order number 2 and the final to the construction agreement with Roniak Paving, Inc. for the project known as 2025-441 resurfacing project for the resurfacing of various Portage County roads on behalf of the Portage County engineer.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners agrees to accept the surety bond and performance agreement for construction of street, storm sewer, drainage improvements, erosion and sediment control for the Forest Ridge Phase 6 development in Ravenna Township, Portage County.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners agrees to enter into a general water agreement for water improvements to Portage Park, Came Esker Bog expansion, water, Portage County Water Resources Project number BRW 25-050P.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion, the Board of Commissioners authorize a service agreement with the Portage County Land Bank Reutilization Corp.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
I'd like to make a comment that this is regarding the employment agreement for some of the land bank employees, and just based on the classification of the employee and not anything against the employee, my vote is no.
Yes.
Alright, now we have Mr. Maduri. In accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 121.22G3, the Board of Commissioners moves into executive session to conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Yes. What's up?
Not too much. How are you, everyone?
Okay.
Doing well.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Is there any action?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion approving and authorizing the execution of a settlement in Portage County Common Pleas Court, case number 2023 CV 00868.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Mike.
Yes. Okay, thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
thanks, Chris.
Maduri.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate you.
Likewise.
Woody, you're up.
All right.
Come on up, buddy.
There's all these good things going on in veteran services.
Yeah, we do actually.
That was a very nice event.
That was much better than expected. 300 some odd veterans and their families coming. We are anticipating 50, 60, hoping for 50, 60. So yeah, that was really good, really good. So, all right, want me to get started? All right, well, thank you for allowing me to come here. I'm not sure if we've ever done this before, but I do want to start doing this at least once a year, just to give you a rundown of what we've done, what we are doing. So, you know, I'm the director there at Veteran Service Commission, Woody. We work pretty much 3 different priorities for us. One is getting claims and pensions and all VA benefits through the VA for our veterans. We work financial assistance to help veterans who are unforeseen circumstance, and transportation for veterans for VA medical appointments. When it comes to the benefit side, we have just over 8,000, I believe, veterans within the county. Of those 8,000, 3,100 are what we are currently working with. We would like to reach the others, so we have been starting to reach out to some of the assisted living facilities, veterans organizations, townships, trying to reach all 4 corners of the county so we can get more of those individuals in here, make them aware that we are here. Last year, we successfully had 599 claims get approved, which was a record for us. And then out of those 599, it brought in $3.4 million in retro payments for those veterans and their families. And it also increased their income about $1,000 a month on the average for those veterans. Some of them, it was literally up to over $4,000 a month that they were increased. Some were zero, which is how we come up to the 1,000. This year, so far, we are on pace for between 750 to 800 claims approved, which again would be another record. We've brought in $2.3 million of retro for those veterans currently, so we're on pace for $4.5 to $5 million. And the good thing is that money comes right back into the county. In many cases, gets spent here, helping businesses, small and large alike. The claims that we do, they're not just for veterans. The majority of them are, but we do work with widows of veterans. If a veteran served during a wartime period and he passes, it does make their spouse eligible for what's called a widow's pension. Some of it is income-based, and there's a couple nursing home assisted living when they need care. They get a little money for that as well. There's a few other factors when it comes to qualifying for those benefits, but we help them. A lot of times when a veteran passes, the widow left behind, they have to unfortunately deal with the fact that their husband or wife is no longer with them, but they also lose a lot of income that came in from that individual. So filing for what's called a DIC claim, widow's pension, that can help offset a lot of that. But some of those are income-based, some of those claims are just purely if a veteran died because of a service-connected disability, it makes them eligible for some significant benefits, health care, educational, and some money. We do help out, like I said, with healthcare benefits, educational benefits, home loans, burial markers, anything the VA offers. We can help those veterans and their families get through that red tape that sometimes can be a struggle. Let's see. We also have a financial assistance program. Unfortunately, within the county, there's a lot of veterans who, for whatever reasons, struggle to keep up with their monthly bills. Some of them lose jobs, some of them because of health issues, and they need assistance. So what we do is we look for that unforeseen circumstance, and we'll count that as their eligibility for assistance. Sometimes it's because their HVAC went out, so we help repair or replace in some cases. Some of it, individuals who have dental problems, and not just dental problems, but they're so severe, not taken care of could affect their life, medically.
Your health, majorly.
Yeah,
Yes.
because poison sometimes gets into that hard. And so we've been helping with that, getting those individuals the dental needs they need, dentures if teeth have to be pulled. And that's rather new to the commission that we just started doing, trying to expand what we can do for the veterans. Again, it's not just the veterans, it's families as well. Various reasons they need assistance. Last year, we assisted with 222 veterans, given just over $300,000 in relief. 12 of those veterans were able to get off the street, that they were homeless, so we're able to help them get in with security deposits, first month's rent, and unfortunately, a lot of places are now wanting last month's rent too, so we've helped with all that. And once they're in there, why do you want to just go into a place and have no furniture, no anything? It's just it's going to affect your mental health if you're looking at four walls and that's it. So we help them to get set up with that, with kitchen necessities, beds, furniture, whatever the case. And we have partners that we work with as well over at the Freedom House and supportive services for veterans. But let's see here. Try not to read off my notes, but sometimes I forget. We help with transportation for veterans to and from the VA medical centers. A lot of these veterans, they don't have the means, and a lot of them unfortunately don't have family around either. So we will go pick them up, get them to their medical appointments at the VA clinics, hospitals, whatever the case. And recently, we had a woman, her husband passed. She was an elderly woman and got laid to rest at Rittman. She had no way to get to that ceremony for her husband. So we gave her a ride there. We stayed there and supported her while she was there and helped with that. So that's another thing we are trying to do more of, is things like that.
Nice
Our-
outreach.
Correct. Our veteran passed away, if it's our client, for example, we're gonna try to support that person, not just have them come in the office and see what they're eligible for, but just show support by being there with them and their families. We have 4 drivers that are specifically set up for that. That's all they do. We're getting more and more. Last year, we had 1,000 clients that we transported. They can take their family with them, or if they have a caregiver to assist that needs special needs, they can go as long as there's room on the vehicle, on the van. We have 3 vans now that we use, as we have picked up considerably how much we're transporting. This year, we're on pace for the same amount, just over 1,000 individuals. I became the director in January, and one of my goals was outreach, reaching the individuals that I mentioned earlier. And we've been doing that pretty good. The grand opening we just had a lot of veterans come in and said that they didn't even know we were here. So seeing those individuals, and they say they're coming in now, they will be coming in. They were happy with what we did, but we're gonna be in the future. We've talked within the office. We're gonna start on Halloween. We're gonna do, well, let's put it this way, there's a lot of families, unfortunately, they don't have good Halloweens, they don't have good Christmases, Thanksgiving, they just don't have the funds for it. We wanna try to give them that. So we're going to do a Halloween party, letting some kids do some trick-or-treatings. We're gonna do a Thanksgiving meal for the veterans and their families. Same thing with Christmas. We're gonna do some sort of a Christmas. We're not all sure of all the details right now, but we wanna do something. One, it gets them something, the kids especially, and it gets us out there again. People start to see who we are, what we do, and how we support the veterans. And we're gonna do a picnic, get together during the summer, and we'll have an event there as well. Similar to what we just did, we'll have vendors there, we'll have activities for the children, activities for the veterans themselves as well. We've been working with businesses. The one coming up in September is Randolph Home Furnishings, I think it is. They're doing a veterans event, and the auditor here, Matt, and ourselves, we are going to assist with that. We're going to have some vendors there, we're going to be there. But we are trying to get out to these businesses locally here within the county, want to find out what they do for veterans and advertise that. And leave our information there so they can advertise for us as well. We've got a new website. We're meeting with townships. That's something I'm doing. I'm setting up to meet with each township individually during one of their meetings to let them know who we are, what we do. So maybe they can reach out. They know some veterans within their community that could use our service. Including, we have 18 individuals that work within the commission, 7 VSOs, financial assistance officer. Whole dedication is to help out our veterans, to get them what they need and deserve for their benefits, and financial assistance if they need that. So it's a very rewarding job when you have veterans or families that are just getting by month to month, and then you can tell them, hey, you got approved, you're gonna get $4,000 a month going forward, and you're gonna get health care benefits and education benefits going forward. And a lot of people, it's a life-changing event for them. So to be able to call them and hear them on the other end in tears and can't even talk, it's nice. It feels good for us because we did something that they really needed, they really had to have. So other than that, any questions? I do appreciate your time, I really do.
Well, you have good staff, and I think the key is to get the marketing out there. I don't know the true answer to it, but a lot of people don't understand what's available for them.
Correct.
And a lot of them are alone.
Yes, a lot of them want to just give.
All I would ask is that you let these two know when the Halloween party is, because they won't even have to dress up. They'll just show up. What?
He's so supportive of us. I
What?
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
They'll just show up. They don't.
With our mic mask on.
No, I appreciate it. The event Saturday was phenomenal. We talked to a lot of veterans and a lot of people, and I did talk to a couple that had no clue what the building was
Right.
and what services were, and it just dumbfounds me sometimes.
Yeah, it was a really good event. Like I said, it exceeded what we had
You ran
hoped
out
and
of food
anticipated
how many
for.
times?
He
Did
had
Woody
to-
have to go back and
4
get
times
food?
he had to go back and get more
That's how
food,
big.
but he had no issue with it. In fact, after the
Yeah.
event, he said, "Hey, you ever do this again? Let us
Yep.
know."
Oh, yeah.
We participated.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's good like that.
So yeah, that was a good event. All the vendors, they
Keep
were
up the
great.
good work, and you have our support. If you ever need
Absolutely.
anything, Woody, just give us a call.
Anything else? Thanks, Woody.
All right, thank you. I appreciate
Thank
all your
you.
time.
Water resources. Good.
Well, I was hoping today was going to be a nice light update on our building addition.
I see it.
But we had a more pressing situation that popped up this morning. My operations manager, Scott Clemens, came into the office and let me know that one of our wastewater treatment plants in Mogador, this morning, one of the operators came in and chunks of the roof were laying on the ground. The structural integrity of the roof itself is compromised. We've known that this is an issue. We actually had a project that was getting ready to go to bid, or we were going to bring to the board in request to put the bid out within the next month here for this very reason. Unfortunately, the building gave up the ghost before we were able to do that. So we feel at the condition of the roof at this point, it's dangerous enough where we don't feel comfortable allowing our operators to work within that building. And it's also a danger to the public in general. If we can't have our operators in there actually treating the wastewater, that could become a real problem moving forward. So
How big is the building?
it's about the size of a pole building.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, it's really not, the scope of the project isn't that bad. with everything that we had anticipated, we believe it will be $175,000 to completely refurbish the whole building. With this, I don't know how that's gonna put a
Sure.
monkey wrench in that, but we definitely need a contractor in there today, to go
Yeah,
ahead
yeah.
and start assessing
emergency.
what we can do, and then whether or not, how much money do we pump into building or keeping up the roof of a building we were already intending to, to rebuild anyway. So that's kind of where we're at and trying to figure out, what our next steps are. So we'll have a resolution here that addresses that situation. And then the quick update, I'll just shift over to the more lighthearted stuff here. I have some things. I have one for you, Michelle.
Thank you.
So this is just our building additions. The first page shows our facility. The dark, bold, black areas are the areas that will be the additions. So for the primary building, we have what will be roughly 10 offices and a new conference room that will be housed within that addition. Currently, we're so overstaffed as far as the size of the building that we have people working in storage rooms with no windows, and we're still looking to potentially grow. So we just determined that that's probably the best route, was to go ahead with the addition. And then over in the bottom right corner of that first page, in the garage area, we're also adding additional space there for more inventory. When I first started here 3 years ago, we didn't have a solid centralized purchasing area. All of our operations superintendents essentially purchase what they need, which is kind of causing mayhem because we don't know exactly what we have and where it is. So for the last 3 years, we've been centralizing our purchasing, and this is another step to that, in that direction. Eventually, once this addition is put on, the concept will be that any operator or superintendent that needs something will go directly to the inventory specialist, request that thing, and then that will be issued from that person to the operator or the superintendent, so that we have a much better idea of what inventory we have. We don't want to believe that anything could go missing, but sometimes even we have pumps and motors that have been sitting in some remote location that we have that we didn't even realize we had for years. So this will really help tighten that up. And then the second page really is just kind of a blow up of the additional office space with the conference room and the 10 additional offices, which they just broke ground last week. Maybe it was a couple of weeks ago now.
I was gonna say, I think
Yeah,
it
I
was
think it's been a couple of
weeks
weeks
ago,
now.
'cause I drove by there and I saw it.
Yeah, so all the dirt's torn up, and they cut all the trees down, and they're ready to start pouring concrete next, I believe, is the next step. And then I think the third page is just the addition that would go on to the garage as well,
Yeah.
which will have a couple of rooms for the inventory specialist and additional storage, as well as an entryway for anybody that does need inventory or a piece of equipment. That's where they would enter. And that's about it, unless anybody has any questions about that.
No. Keep an eye on it. It's great.
Yeah. That was 2 years in the making, so it's we're finally here and breaking ground, so it's exciting.
So you have a resolution for us?
It is. There's an emergency resolution declaring an emergency due to the critical condition of the Fairlane wastewater treatment plant located at 1879 Whitehall Drive in Mogador, requiring immediate repair due to the declining structural integrity of the roof.
Is services still able to be continued there?
That's a good question. I mean, at this point, the way that we have the situation until we get a contractor in there to assess it, and of course, the timing couldn't be any worse, right before 4th of July.
And everyone's busy.
Yeah, well, everybody's either busy or they're off, so we're trying,
I'm
in
thinking about
fact.
getting a contractor there.
Yeah, In fact, I think we're planning on using, or we're first contacting Summit, which is the contractor that's doing the addition
Oh, yeah.
for our facility, and I think has done work here as well. So that's who we're planning on contacting, but if they don't work out, then we'll have to move on to somebody else. But to get back to that, I don't know. Right now, the way we have it is we have the whole area cordoned off with safety tape. If an operator needs to go, we're making sure that they're wearing hard hats and that there are 2 operators on site, so at least if something were to happen, we would know about that. And we're restricting access tremendously, so at this point, we're not allowing anybody to do any work within the wastewater treatment plant.
Right now, is the equipment still operating?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, it is. And a lot of these plants, they can continue for, 2 or 3 days, just with monitoring, just making sure. But we do have to draw samples and do a lot of, extraneous work. So the sooner we can get in there, the better.
Just deterioration, what really caused
So
the sky is falling? What happened?
Well, we've known about this since 2023. We initially actually contacted David Garnier, who's no longer with us, but asking whether or not we could make this an emergency. His thought process was no, it wasn't an emergency at the time.
Okay.
And I get that. I mean, we tried, but it didn't work out. And then, so once we started down the project without just doing it ad hoc and trying to do this on the fly, we decided let's be a little more structured about this and make sure that the operators get what they need. Of course, that design took longer than we would have liked, and the packages, there's already a project number associated with this. We've already passed a resolution to make those plans and specifications. And we were, I think, roughly 3 weeks away to bringing another resolution forward requesting to take this project out to bid. So
Okay.
the timing was just wasn't the best.
Okay, if I may
Happens.
just I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Were you
Okay.
gonna say something? Okay. Just so we're clear, it was my understanding that there is a grave potential for a cave-in of the roof, correct?
Yes.
And if we do not make our daily visits correctly, we will be in violation of the EPA, which could in fact impact our residents.
Yes, absolutely. If the roof caves in, that will be a significant issue. We would not be able to continue operations. And what that would entail, I'm not sure, or how long it would be before we would be able to resume. So yeah, this is definitely something we need to get on top of as quickly as possible.
We're gonna make immediate for the safety of the employees, but we need to move quickly, correct?
All right, I'll make a motion declaring an emergency due to the critical condition of Fairlane wastewater treatment plant located at 1879 Whitehall Drive in Mogador, requiring immediate repair due to the declining structural integrity of the roof.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much,
All right,
Commissioners.
keep
Now
us
I'm gonna
posted.
see if I can put this fire out and see
All right.
what's going on.
We'll stay
next.
off the roof.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
You're up?
Do you wanna come up for
Ellie Joe.
No, he sent you alone.
Yeah.
Thanks
to the
Chris.
woods.
It's like, no, I'm fine.
Literally the hot seat.
Yeah. No, I'm fine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I do have 20 minutes, and I'm gonna try to be really concise, because there's just a few items, they're pretty depthful as far as updates, and I'm gonna tell a story. If you don't mind, could I start with updates regarding our licensed group home on Brady Lake Road, because I think that'll lead into the levy discussion.
Shirley, tell me the story.
So historically, I'll just take you back to 2017 in Portage County. We had, in December of 2017, 250 kiddos in the custody of our agency. And at that time, we had 28, mostly teenagers, in residential facilities throughout the state of Ohio. If you fast forward to the following year, which was 2020,
2018. Did I say 2017?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, 2018, kind of following numbers. We were pretty close to that a year later. We had 238 kiddos in custody and about 25 kids in residential facilities. It was at that time that I went to the then Board of Commissioners and said, would you entertain us opening a licensed group home in our county, most specifically to try to bring teenagers who are probably the hardest to place back to their community, back to their schools, and the commissioner said, if you build it, we will support it. And hence how the Brady Lake Group Home came to fruition. We became licensed in 2019. Since 2019, we've had 62 admissions at the group home, 62 kiddos, sometimes repeat kiddos, just depending upon if we had to step them back up for more intense needs or, so 62 admissions. In that space, as you know, I come and report monthly. We're in a beautiful space regarding numbers in 2025. As of this Monday, we have 89 children in foster care, and we have 5 children in residential facilities throughout the state of Ohio. So those numbers are profound. While I wish I could report that the placement costs are lower, those are not. And if I wish I could report that some of the needs of our kids are better, they're not. So the kids that are in facilities have the highest needs. We see those with kids that are struggling with mental health, developmental disabilities, and all around trauma. So, but based on numbers, we really have, as a team, started to look at what do we want to do with the group home? Should we repurpose it? And I can tell you, I spoke on a panel at our executive meeting in Columbus last week with 3 other directors that have residential facilities in Ohio, and a panel of 4 that are actually applying for licensure to do their own group homes just because of the placement crisis. So their trend is that more agencies are looking to bring this as a solution just because of the placement crisis. But knowing our numbers and where we're at, I would like your support in repurposing our group home to, right now we're certified for children 11 to 18, to move it to 6 years old to 18. So we do unfortunately still see kiddos younger ages that come into custody, and we struggle to find placement immediately. So the dual purposes it would serve in the capacity of like an emergency placement center, as well as for some kids that we can't place a home. We definitely are seeing some turnover. In residential, you see turnover, but because of some of the needs, we definitely are going to do a summer training series for our team members. They're all very trained in trauma-informed care, and we are a restraint facility, but we also are seeing kids with developmental disabilities, really profound mental health. We need to do a lot with wellness to support our staff. So I received a grant of $20,000 a couple months ago. We really want to focus on retooling and retraining our new staff that are coming to the group home, as well as, some of them for our kids. So that's where I want to go. I just wanted to report the numbers are great, but the needs are great, and would like to modify our license to move in that space. So asking for your support with that.
Do you have anyone in there now?
We had 2 residents. Now we had 4 in the last 2 months, and 1 kiddo emancipated. She got her own apartment in Kent. The other kiddo had really serious mental health challenges that we had to step back up into a facility, and then we have 2 17-year-olds now.
And what's your staff like that has to care for that? That's a 24/7.
We've had 2 resignations. I don't even know you're going there, but I'm not saying that's directly impacted, but I can tell you it vacillates. We've had kids that have threatened harm on staff. We've had kiddos that have threatened property. And we have kiddos that threatened to hurt themselves. So we use Access, Coleman Access. We have that agreement with them. So it's rough. Residential's different than being able to clock in and clock out on a day shift. You're in that lived experience with kids.
Yep.
And we knew that going in. I mean, we've had kiddos elope from the group home. We've had kids in crisis, but having them when we can come into our community sometimes is better than having them displaced and placed across the state of Ohio. So we just have to retool in that space and do more with the training and focus on more of a special needs. So
we have a team meeting next week to talk about this. I did talk to licensure, state licensure, because we're licensed by the state, and, you know, we absolutely can apply for an enhanced license, or amend our license, I should say.
Kelly Jo, is there any concern having such a broad age range together? I mean,
I don't foresee that that'll be the long term. I still foresee us having the older kids there for more of a residential. But to have a 6-year-old, we're not sleeping in our building, but to be able to have a 6-year-old that might take a day or two to find the right placement, actually be in a home environment where there's television and activity toys as opposed to our 3rd floor, I think is ideal. I mean, if we have that home and food and refrigerators, and we want that. So I don't think we'll see younger kids dwelling there long,
yeah.
just to be able to interface with a home environment, I think is what we're looking for.
What's the maximum kids that can be there?
For our group home, we're licensed to take 8. We have 4 bedrooms with 2 beds. If a county operates their own group home, you can only have up to 25 kids. Licensure says that supervision-wise, and I don't know any place that is successful in this space, that you could have 1 staff for every 10 kids. We do 1 staff for every 4, because that's a lot, especially if you have kids that are in trauma and one has to go to the emergency room. We try our best to be double staffed during waking hours for that purpose, but yes, there's turnover in residential, and we're actually seeing a turnover right now, so full transparency, we just have to do more to support our staff, but it's a rough business. And I don't want to correlate it as a business. It's providing true care for kids, but you still have to be cognizant of that issue as well. Do you have a question or comment?
No, I have the same concern that Commissioner Bennett stated. Putting a 6 or 7-year-old in with a 15, 16, 17-year-old. You know, I guess I look at that as, you know, define short term. If we had a place to put them, why are they there? I just have a bunch of questions.
It's more from an emergency standpoint. Again, if you have a kiddo that comes into our custody and I'll just use an example. We had a 6-year-old recently that came into our custody in the middle of the night as an emergency placement, and he had really profound behavior challenges, to the point where when you're outreaching to foster homes in our community and around, we got denials initially. So in that space, it took us and our team some time, who they stay with him right round the clock, our child welfare team, but sometimes it can take a day or 2 or 3. So in that space, by licensure, we would admit him into the group home, right? And then discharge him when we find the place. But having a home environment for these kids in the interim, as opposed to in our buildings, is more ideal. It also, this repurposing the license, we talked to our union about it to modify job descriptions. So when we're down in ratio in the group home side, if we modify job descriptions, they can help the child welfare side, because we have lots of transportation needs. And on the flip of it, we have after hours child welfare workers, child protective workers. If we modify their job descriptions and have them be able to do also PRN as needed at the group home, that person can stay with that child in the group home and be that +1 staff. So speaking to those kinds of things, it's still giving the child the individualized care that they're getting from our staff. It's just would be permissible for them to be in the licensed facility, and we don't have to do it on the down low. I mean, really. So I think it's, again, we talked to the licensing department last week, because I was just throwing out a bunch of ideas. Could we be a respite center? Again, our numbers are great, but the needs of some of these kids are not. And so this is what we came up with. We don't want to see our group home go away. Our team met, our admin team. We think it serves a purpose for those kids that are there, and have the 62 kids that have lived there and called that home, you know, some as long as a year.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Questions?
Okay. So that pivots to, Chris is here on my next topic. And that's levy. So we were so ecstatic last year that we were able to move our .49 and .75 together as a new levy. It passed for the purpose of servicing abused, neglected, and dependent children. Beautiful. But we had 3 levies for that division. We merged the 2 last year and it passed, and now we have a .5 that is coming up, or that we can put on the ballot in November. Full transparency, just reiterating where our numbers are at. Right now in July, as of July, we're a little under $2 million in our placement costs. So if we were to stay in this trend, we would be in fairly good shape at the end of the year, as opposed to last year when we were creeping up on 5 million. So from the child protective side, I'm not saying we wouldn't need this levy. It's always beautiful to have it because these 89 kids could skyrocket. We've seen that, and we don't want to be in a situation then when I'm coming to you saying I need general fund support. So we don't want to see the levy go away. But on the side of it, elderly people, our adult protective services team, and the funds available for that, I want to just give you some numbers and talk about where our needs are at, and then I'll pivot to that. So as it relates to last year, at this time, May of 2024, we had 42 open adult protective service cases. So those are for individuals 60 and older. And we were receiving on average about 14 referrals a month. So now as of May, we have 64 open adult protective services cases, and still getting about an average of 12 referrals. So we're seeing a trend in more cases for our elderly individuals. We have 3 pots of money that supports our seniors in job and family, that we serve in job and family. We have Title $20, we have a social service block grant, and we have adult protective services funds. So we're not seeing significant cuts yet. As at this point, as the state budget numbers roll in, we're like at a negative 2,000 or 2,000 less in one pot of money. But because of the need being increased, Lisa just provided to me this morning that we're overspent based on our allocations about $100,000 from July 1 of 24 to June 30 of 25. So where does that $100,000 come from? We're taking it from other flex funds that weren't earmarked for this population. And then, as you know, you supported us becoming an age-friendly community. We did the survey, area agencies analyzing. We had talking and listening sessions. We're going to bring a report to you. But some of the things that have been asked for by our seniors or opportunities were for enhanced transportation. In our talking sessions, we talked about maybe doing something with MRSS, emergency services for seniors, kind of working collaboratively with like paramedics, especially those that are in outlying areas. They talked about more health and wellness opportunities and like pop-up kind of places where food insecurity or services. So we see the need with our senior as reported by them. We're seeing it in our own numbers. And so I outreached to Mr. Majuri and asked, what if we went before the Portage County voters and looked to change the .5 child welfare levy to a human services levy that could encompass and support the care of not only child protective service situations, but also elderly seniors in emergency situations. So can I pivot to you
Sure.
and talk about what you found?
Yep.
Okay. So you're on.
Oh, well, okay.
Sure.
I didn't know if you
Come
wanted to
on,
do
come
that.
on.
Okay.
Help me here. I don't want to be
Sure.
by myself.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, essentially, you can do a levy above the 10 mil limitation, take it to the voters. And the levy can be used to supplement the county general fund for, it's pretty broad, public assistance, human or social services, relief, welfare, hospitalization, health, and supportive general hospitals, which we can eliminate that language. But basically, it's a broad social human services levy that you could use for public assistance, you could use for the elderly, it can include children's services. So we can fashion the language to include a lot, but especially the things Kelly Jo is discussing here.
And I want to flip back to, if you remember when we got that one time ARPA dollars, it was like 500,000 that we monitored for Portage County. And so back when we had it for a year, we flew through that money. We kind of were the clearinghouse, and it went to other entities, but we didn't even put a poverty guideline on it, but we had close to 1,000 people, our seniors, that applied for food assistance in that 1 year. Housing assistance, we saw seniors that had back taxes and needed some upgrades to their homes. So in this space too, similar to what we have in our PRC emergency plan, that's for parents with dependent children, we could do a smaller scale emergency services plan for seniors, tie it to a poverty guideline, and then have a pot of money through this levy that would be available for seniors if they needed, those kinds of emergency services. And I the jury's out right now, but I was at a director's meeting last week, and they were talking about, we know that the state budget's approved, and I think in a couple areas we're not gonna fare well, but in some we are gonna be. Well, federally, we're waiting to see what's gonna happen with SNAP and Medicaid. And if the SNAP issue manifests relevant to accuracy rates, they're looking at having penalties, or states have to incur overages if accuracy rates are not what they need to be. I don't know if it's gonna manifest, but hypothetically, if it does, those costs are gonna come down to the state, which could ultimately come down to the counties. So if we had some of these type of emergency funds available, I think that could also offset some local costs. And maybe it's not gonna happen, but there's a lot of talk that it's likely something's gonna happen in both of those arenas. So food insecurity is a big deal. So that's me. I think I could sit here in my last couple years here with the county and us go up and have it the same old levy at 0.5 and close my eyes to the needs in a different population, but we care for all residents, and we do see an uptick in need for our senior citizens. So I would like your support in bringing this forward and trying to get it passed for the purpose of expanding the population to our residents over 60 with emergency and adult protective needs.
Can you just recap what the levy will be for and the amount of the millage?
So the millage right now is 0.5,
Yeah.
so I would want to keep it at 0.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do anything more than that. It would continue to be for costs related to children in child protective custody, abused, neglected, or dependent, and add
Expand to
cases that Portage County Job and Family Services under the adult protective services arena. So on any of those supports would be covered, and including an emergency services type of plan. I don't exactly know the federal poverty guideline. I want to do a data analysis, but that they could apply for certain things like emergency housing, emergency food, those types of things. But the qualifier, like the PRC plan, would be a specific poverty guideline, because you could not open it up carte blanche,
Yeah.
but if you built some parameters. So that would be my vision in those three arenas: emergency services, adult protective services, and then continue to be child welfare. And can I just add, and somehow blend into it, some of the recommendations that are gonna come from this age-friendly survey, like as far as pop-up centers and health and wellness supports as well. It's a lot, I know.
Yeah, I'd wanna read the entire layout and the resolution as to how you put it together, before I say anything.
So I'm happy to do that as far as what it would encompass. It was
But you
just-
know, people are gonna have questions.
Oh, yeah.
And anytime you change something at midstream, if you will, they're gonna wonder why. And I wanna be able to explain that if we choose to go on that way.
So we need some like talking points
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
some
that's all.
actually the impact or
Because what-
of that, what is gonna be, we know the three categories covered,
Mhm.
but when we look at that 5 mil, how much is gonna be still for child welfare opposed to senior care to emergency services?
And
And-
let me piggyback that,
Yeah.
because the problem we may have today may not be our problem tomorrow, and I just wanna make sure we go in the right direction one time.
Yeah. And I think, if you're good with this plan, we have to have a resolution of necessity filed before August, because we're up against the
Yeah.
November.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So I have a couple more Thursdays before that
Yeah.
I can build the actual plan with the data points.
Yeah.
And then we can also draft the resolution for you to see, represent it. I wanted to broach the topic. I didn't want to dive too far in and assume that you would support it without getting some feedback, and then,
And I would wanna see the ballot language too, to
Yeah.
see
Yeah, exactly.
how we're gonna
And
describe
Chris
it.
types slow, so.
Yeah.
so in the next few weeks, would you be good with then a draft resolution of what that would look like and a plan detailing
Yeah.
some services and go from there?
Yeah, so-
Sure.
Okay, good?
Yeah, that's good.
All right,
That is good.
thank you. And that's it, and then we have one executive session.
You know what, we
Wanna
gotta
do,
Oh, you
comment.
want us to sit back here and wait then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Just get out of the audience.
Yeah. I'm happy to get off this seat right now. How are you?
Good. Good. Miss Randy, come on in.
Morning,
Good morning.
how are you?
Good, how about you?
Good.
I'm gonna follow the director's lead and start with a story also.
All right. We love stories.
Okay, perfect. I'm Randy Kleitz. I am coming to you today in my capacity of being a mom, and kind of explain to you kind of why I'm here about this program and like the history of the program. So first off, I grew up here in Ravenna. I've lived in Ravenna my entire life. As an adult, I moved to the township with my husband Matt and our son Colton. Matt and I had trouble conceiving, so we were married 7 years before we had our son Colton, and unfortunately he was diagnosed at birth with a rare genetic condition, and then a few months later with cancer also. And so even after, feeling like we were in a good place financially because we had been working so long to become parents, those two diagnoses and the amount of time we spent at Akron Children's Hospital over the first few years really decimated our finances. And so we became dependent on a program called the Complex Medical Help Program. It's changed names recently. It used to be considered the BCMH program. I brought a couple of pictures from our years of advocacy on the program. So going a little further back than the director did, our advocacy for this program started in 2005 when that year's state budget was going to cut the state funding, and it would impact middle-income families, which we were. And we were really dependent on this assistance because it really helps cover anything your health insurance doesn't cover related to certain diagnoses. And so since 2005, I've been advocating and serving on their Parent Advisory Council. In 2012, I got to go to DC to represent our Ohio program because we're one of the best run Title V programs in the country. So I got to learn a little bit more about the program. But just to tell you a little bit more, this program is really for the most medically complex children. It covers AIDS, cancer, cerebral palsy, cleft lip and palate, cystic fibrosis, diabetes, scoliosis, hemophilia, hearing loss, juvenile arthritis, metabolic disorders, severe vision disorders, sickle cell, spina bifida, congenital heart disease, and chronic lung disease. So this isn't, something that helps all medical conditions. It just helps really the most medically fragile children. One of the things that we've recently done is we worked together to increase the age limit. So the governor just signed the last year of a request to increase the age limit up to 26 to follow these young adults into when their parents can cover them under their parents' insurance. So we're super grateful that the legislature has increased that. The state budget, GRF, is $13.1 million for the program. We average about 40,000 kids across the state on the program, and there's three different programs that serve the kids. So the first thing is a diagnostic program. So this helps with that diagnostic journey. A lot of times getting those diagnostic testing, if any of you have been through a diagnostic testing, there's a lot of tests that you have to go through, and sometimes your insurance company doesn't pay for genetic testing. Sometimes they don't pay for whole genome sequencing, and those are really important to our kiddos. So that program is called the diagnostic program. That program is is able to help anybody not dependent on your income at all. So it's just to try and get to an earlier diagnosis for those complex kids. And then the other program is called the treatment program. That's the program that we increased up to age 26. So this pays for any out-of-pocket costs, your deductible, co-insurance, co-payments on anything that's related to that condition that you were approved for. So even if you have cancer and you have broken bone and you go to the emergency room, those costs won't be covered by this program. It's only going to be anything related to your cancer, not related to any other medical condition. But it does pay for lab tests, physician visits, medical equipment and supplies, surgeries, hospitalizations, public health, nursing services, therapy, service coordination. And I'm sorry I brought you guys a brochure. You could be looking at this with me.
Thank you.
But I'm in the middle, the gold section. So that's the treatment program. Those are the services that are provided through the state budget, but then also why I'm here, a portion of the inside millage for property taxes, we have a set aside for 1/10 of an inside millage for that. And so that 1/10 of an inside millage set aside for Portage County last year was about $450,000. But you only release those dollars to the state when your citizens, your children in this county actually utilize those services, and then that money is sent to the state. So last year, about $163,000 was released to the state for that program. So the GRF at the county level received about $290,000 back. And then the last thing is the service coordination piece. This piece is really helping the public health, so the public health district with service coordination, and a lot of it is the local one for you guys would be Akron Children's Hospital. A lot of the nurse or the social workers that help us as families receive services, they get a small amount from the state budget to help with service coordination for programs. So I know I'm probably coming up on my 5 minutes, but happy to answer any questions if you have any.
So how old is Colton now?
He's 23. Can you believe it? Yeah, it's 20 years.
He's
20 years
little.
that we've been working on issues around this program. So, yeah.
No, just looking at this. I appreciate you coming in though and giving us an update. It's nice to have you here.
Yeah, I try and come in every couple of years around the budget time, and I didn't make it in last year, the last budget cycle, so I didn't get to see you when you first came in, but it's nice to see you,
So when
Commissioner.
you say inside millage, is that filtered through Kelly Joe's program? No? What's
No.
it filtered through?
It goes straight from the auditor's office to the state.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've already met with Auditor Kelly to give him a heads up on it too, because I know there's a lot of conversation around inside millage right now, so I thought it's
Oh,
good,
yeah.
important,
Yeah, there is.
important highlight to make sure that it's on the radar, that this is a program that inside millage, and do you mind if I give you one more thing I forgot to add?
No.
Okay, it doesn't really talk to your question, but the inside millage that is collected on behalf of this program across the state is about $33 million. But the program itself only then recoups about $20 million of that. So some counties are much smaller and their funds are gone quickly, but really large counties set aside quite a bit and they don't have, the money just doesn't go. Like Tuscarawas County is one of them that's around us, that they set aside $275,000 and all of their money goes to the program. But there are larger counties where the set aside is just so, like Cuyahoga County is 3.4, almost 3.5 million, and the program only gets about $1 million of that. So they just don't have enough children to make up that set aside amount. So it's significant. If you remember my number, it's 13 million from the state GRF, but 20 million of it comes from the counties reimbursing for their own kiddos on the treatment program. And really that's the biggest part of the program, is the treatment component of the program.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you coming in, because
Sure thing.
knowledge is power. We're sorry you went through all that, because
Yeah.
nobody can imagine unless you're there
That's
what
what
it's
we're
like.
really grateful that he is a healthy 23-year-old who
Absolutely.
is, you know,
Yeah.
like his peers now and doing
Good.
really well. So.
Good, awesome.
I brought you a few extra brochures,
Okay.
but if you ever
Thank
have
you.
any families that reach out, happy to still be a resource, still serving on the Parent Advisory Council, so happy to be a resource.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, have a blessed weekend.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Jane.
All right, any other public comment? Miss Barb, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Didn't see you there at first, because you were over there, and Jackie was
probably
sitting
have
here.
musical
and
chairs.
Jackie's hair was in the way, I didn't see you.
Oh my.
Oh, my.
All right,
But she had beautiful.
you're back up.
Okay.
In accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1, the Board of Commissioners moves into executive session to consider the compensation of a public employee. Second?
Call roll, please.
Sabrina? Yes.
Jill? Yes.
Mike? Happy 4th of July,
Yes.
Barb.
Yes, Jill.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
Second?
Roll call.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, have a great
Appreciate
day.
it.
Happy holiday, happy Fourth of
Yep,
July.
you as well.
Enjoy your
You too.
No.
No action, other than I just want to remind people that next week, we are having session on Wednesday, July 9th at 9 o'clock.
Cool. Anything else? Ms. Crawford?
No, just everybody have a safe and happy Fourth
Yeah.
of July.
Our fine,
4th of July.
illustrious administrator?
Oh, I like that. I am good, Mr. President, thank you.
Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, let's get out of here.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Roll call.
Jill?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Mike?